I'm Steven Durick, and this is Crazy X. So this is our 2011 Nissan Xterra, and this truck has been around the shop a couple times over the years. We originally brought this Xterra in to develop our LS swap kit for guys that wanted to build off-road trucks kind of on a budget. So we installed a 6.2 liter LS in this 2011 Pro 4X with a 6L80 automatic transmission and our adapter that lets you run the factory Nissan transfer case and drive shafts. And that whole kit was set up to kind of retain as much of the factory Nissan on this truck as possible and get an LS in it for more torque and power for off-road applications. We had originally brought this truck in to fit an LS for like a guy that was building a truck for an off-road application kind of on a budget. And we used our 6.2 liter 6L80 combination with an adapter to the factory transfer case, kept the factory drive shafts in the truck. We have an accessory drive package that allows you to run the factory Nissan power steering pump, alternator, AC compressor, really kind of make it as factory as it can be for being an engine that didn't originally come in one of these vehicles. And we successfully did that. This truck ran with that combination for years, thousands of miles, was a daily driver, and the customer just loved the truck. And over that time period, LOJ actually built our shop truck, that Crazy Frontier, and started doing some Pro-Touring type racing with that truck. Caught the attention of the owner, and he reached out and said, you know, I want to go another direction with my Xterra. Can we do that? So after that discussion about what the scope of that project would be, basically the concept we had in mind is what you see of the final result here. We built what I believe is probably one of the wildest Xterras you'll ever find, if not the wildest Xterra you'll find. It still actually has the same 6.2 liter engine in it that it had when we built it for the four-wheel drive application, but we ditched all the four-wheel drive. The truck's obviously been lowered. It's been converted to a manual transmission from an automatic. It has independent suspension in the rear now. There's been a lot of stuff that's been done, and I want to kind of run through all of that with you so you understand just what it took to make an Xterra as wild as this one is. The first thing we did was actually pull the body off the frame, and I did what I like to call a chassis drop. A lot of people talk about body drops where they'll actually cut the floor of the body to drop the body down lower on the frame. But instead of doing a body drop, I did what I call a chassis drop. And what we did was we took all of the front suspension attachment points where the control arms, steering rack, and all bolt to the frame and raised them up 2 inches on the frame. And then in the rear, we ran a Nissan Pathfinder independent suspension subframe, but also sectioned the rear of the frame to raise the subframe up as well so that our roll centers would match front and rear. We wouldn't screw up that geometry and the roll center of the vehicle, and that allowed the truck to get even lower than it would have just by putting coilovers on it. And we did install coilovers. LOJ offers drop kits for Frontiers and Pathfinders and Xterras, and we ran that setup on this truck. So in order to get it lower than you could just with coilovers alone, we did that chassis drop as well. The coilovers that we run on this truck is actually a set of Viking Berserker dampers with Eibach springs, and all the bracketry, the hats and all, were all fabricated with LOJ Conversions. We partnered with Viking for the development of our drop kits. So they supply the dampers and we supply all the other components. And we had a lot of success running their dampers on our race truck, so we decided that was a good choice to run for all of the products we sell for our customers. The ride quality is great, but if you run the damping up and run the spring rates up, they perform really great on the track as well. So it gives the owner a lot of versatility on how they want to use their truck. This was kind of a middle of the road setup as far as spring rates and damping. It works well out on track, but it's also great to drive around the street because he wants to still be able to take his kids for ice cream in this thing too. It's not just a pure track warrior. It's a nice driver as well. Beyond the chassis and suspension work, the engine, like I said, it's still the 6.2 that was in it from before, but we put a much bigger cam in it. We switched the intake manifold out. We put our mid-length headers on it. It has a full true dual 3-inch exhaust with side exits. All right, so we got the exhaust system wrapped up on the Crazy X as well. This is our swap headers. They're 1 7/8 to 3-inch collectors, specifically for LS swaps into Frontiers, Xterras, Pathfinders, all that good stuff. and their ball and socket joint at the exit of the collector, and then we went into true dual 3-inch. We are running 4 Black Widow mufflers on this one. I have no experience with these mufflers. We're giving them a shot. We'll see how it comes out. We're running 2 of the smaller mufflers kind of right off the headers, and then 2 of the biggest mufflers they make in the back. We are not looking to be crazy loud on this thing, and I hope that 4 mufflers together will quiet things down a bit. And we did run an H-pipe setup on this guy. So we've got the 3-inch coming out, an H right under the back of the trans, and then it dumps out the sides right in front of the tire on both sides. Really excited to see what this sounds like. This combination is good for about 500 at the wheel, naturally aspirated. We put a little bit of spray on it too, so you know, if you need a little extra go juice, you can get that spray button. The whole engine combination runs on a Haltech Nexus R3 ECU, and that is able to actually communicate with the factory CAN in the truck, so the climate control and all still works. The truck still has functioning cruise control, functioning air conditioning. We can run the factory gauges with one of those as well, but in this combination we decided to run one of Haltech's IC7 dashes, because you can get a little bit more information on there than you could with the factory gauges, which works really well when you're out on track and you want to like monitor engine vitals and things like that. The fuel system in the truck, we're running, actually, because we did the independent suspension conversion, that took up some of the space where the factory fuel tank would be, so we put a fuel cell in this truck with an in-tank fuel pump, and it just feeds the engine. There's a fuel pressure regulator in the engine bay by Radium, works really well. We love Radium products. They work great in all the builds that we do. We run one of their vent to atmosphere catch cans on that is on this truck as well. From a braking perspective, the brakes on this truck are actually, the front calipers are from a Nismo Nissan 370Z, so they're factory Akibono calipers, people would refer them to, but 370Z is 5 lug, this truck is 6 lug, so obviously we can't run the 370Z rotors. So what we did is we purchased a set of 2-piece DBA rotors, Disc Brakes Australia. They're a great company for high quality aftermarket rotors, and we bought a replacement rotor ring for one of their 2-piece kits for a 370Z, and then just designed and manufactured our own hats to work with those rotors, to work with the rotor offset and lug pattern of the Xterra. In the rear, because we're running the Pathfinder subframe, we're actually just running Pathfinder-sized rear brakes and calipers, upgraded pads all the way around from G-Lock. They work well on the track and on the street, stainless brake lines, and then we installed a BMW MK60 E5 ABS unit, which is commonly found in like the E90 series BMWs, reprogrammed to work in more of a motorsports swap type environment, but it's a factory ABS unit. And funny enough, it actually pretty much bolts in and plugs into one of these trucks. The factory connector on the ABS unit's the same, you just have to move some pins around to get them in the right location, and 2 of the brake lines had to switch positions, but otherwise it's a bolt-in swap, which is pleasant surprise. We didn't know that going in, and we bought the unit. We're like, this will bolt right into this thing. It was kind of great. So that worked out really well. I can give you a braking demonstration if you'd like. I actually haven't done like a full 60 to nothing panic stop in this, so.
Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh.
That's fine. Here we go. You ready?
Yep. Oh my goodness. Did the camera stay up in the back?
It did. I think it's, no, it's still there. Yeah, it's good. And anti-lock brakes work. Wheels and tires, these are Forgestar CF5V wheels in 19x11, and they're actually for a Dodge Viper application. The Xterras and Frontiers are 6 lug, and it's the same 6 lug as a Dodge Viper. So we were able to buy off-the-shelf available Viper wheels to run on this truck with 325/30/19 tires square. And I had mentioned that it's an LS3 with a big cam, and it I did also mention that we converted from a 6L80 to a manual, but the manual transmission we're running in this truck is actually the factory 6-speed manual you would find in a Frontier or an Xterra behind the VQ40 V6 engine. It's an EA200 transmission is the Nissan nomenclature for it, but it's a single overdrive 6-speed manual transmission, and it actually is paired to the LS using one of LOJ Conversions transmission adapters. The setup's actually really slick because it allows you to run the factory LS starter with a custom flywheel, and it works really great in these swap applications, and it's pretty cost effective as well. It's a much cheaper solution than running something like a T56 Magnum. And then behind that Nissan manual transmission, we've got a custom one-piece aluminum drive shaft that's feeding what was the Pathfinder rear differential, but Nissan, the way they engineer things, there's a lot of parts commonality across different platforms, and a V6 Nissan Pathfinder actually uses the same differential as a 350Z or G35 or those cars, with some slightly different rear cover on the diff for mounting and different output flanges for the axles, but the meat and potatoes of the diff is the same. So what we were able to do is actually run a 350Z limited slip in this truck. So we're running a Quaife helical limited slip differential for a 350Z in the Pathfinder differential, in the Pathfinder subframe, in the Xterra. So that's a lot of different models being brought together to make that happen, but I mean, it's a commonly available off-the-shelf part. The differentials are known to be super strong, and with the Quaife in it, it puts the power down really well. One of the things I wanted to mention too is Xterras actually have the exact same wheelbase as a C6 Corvette. So from a turning radius, handling perspective, this truck, it weighs almost exactly on the nose, 4,000 pounds without the driver in it, and it has a 50.1 to 49.9 weight distribution front to rear. With the same wheelbase as a Corvette, it actually handles exceptionally well for a truck. I am not saying in any way that it handles like a Corvette, don't mishear me, but for a truck, especially out on track, it is a ton of fun to drive. It handles really well and has a great turning radius. I also wanted to talk about the cooling system and everything we've done to keep this truck cool on track. And one of the things that we run is our swap radiator for this application, and C&R Racing produces all of our radiators for our swaps. We do the design work, they do the production for us. And that radiator is paired with a 6th gen Camaro factory brushless fan on a custom shroud. And those fans are made for GM by SPAL. They move a ton of air, and because they're brushless, they're actually controlled by a PWM signal out of the Haltech ECU. So we can actually control variable fan speed. It's not on and off, and because we do that, you don't get a real huge surge of electrical current running to the charging system on the truck. And speaking of the charging system, we upgraded the factory Xterra alternator to a factory Nissan Titan XD alternator from a gas application, because that's 200 amps instead of 110 amps. Just allows more current to be generated in situations where we've got a lot of draw on the system, and we run a anti-gravity batteries, lithium battery for cutting weight out of the front end as well. And then we also included an engine oil cooler, and that engine oil cooler is run through a thermostatic oil filter housing, so that we're not cooling the oil when the oil's not up to temp yet, because on street vehicles, you don't want to do that. You don't want to overcool your oil, because it's actually pretty important to get the oil up to temp and burn off any moisture or contaminants that are in the oil. So on a street car, it's really great to run a thermostat on your engine oil cooler. We kind of went through all of the engine, transmission, brakes, suspension type of work we did on this truck, but obviously there's a lot of aesthetic work going on here too. Every Xterra that you'll see out there has integrated factory roof rack. There's actually a storage compartment on the roof. Some of them have optional off-road lights. We removed all of that from the roof. That helps lower the center of gravity, remove some weight, reduce drag. We did a complete wrap on this truck in this matte army green, which was the color chosen by the owner. He loves it. I think it came out really cool. We did a two-tone, kind of accenting some of the factory body lines, throwing some matte black on the grille, the front bumper, the top of the hood, and the roof. We did a custom spoiler on the rear of the hatch that was designed in-house, fabricated in-house, with some laser cut features in it that have the LOJ information in it and stuff like that, which I thought was a nice subtle touch. We did a custom splitter on the front. We used some Professional Awesome splitter mounts and some other support rods that we custom did ourselves to get that on there. And it kind of really tied together the whole look of like a Pro Touring import truck. We updated the headlights to really try to make the whole look of the truck cohesive with the blacked out headlights, the matte black accents, the matte black graphics and logos that we put on it. So it really just tried to tie everything together, and I think it really came out pretty exceptionally well. You know, obviously we've done a lot of work on the chassis, the suspension of the truck, the exterior. We also addressed the interior of the truck. We installed some Sparco racing seats with custom seat brackets that are designed specifically for this truck and the seat combination. The nice thing is we saved all those design files so we can produce them now for other vehicles. They'll work in Frontiers, Pathfinders, and all too. They have some adjustment, but they are specific for your body size and type, and Sparco makes seats in a bunch of different widths, and we have all the information to make all those. So we've been running them now in a bunch of different vehicles we've built in the shop. We also did a custom harness bar, so we can run 5-point harnesses in it. The truck does not have a full cage, but it does have a harness bar. And again, it's a vehicle that he wants to drive on the street and put his kids in the back, and also a cage wasn't really in the design language of what we were trying to accomplish here. We did do a custom center console for the manual transmission conversion. One of the things we did on the interior, in place of the factory rotary knob for the 4x4, we actually installed a Haltech rotary trim knob. And the nice thing on the Haltech Engine Management systems is that we can program traction control into this vehicle, and that rotary trim knob actually dials the amount of traction control you have, from 1 being none at all and 12 being basically pulling all the power out if there's any wheel slip at all. And it allows the driver, depending on track conditions, whether it's been a rainy track day, wet track, dirt on the track, whatever, versus, you know, a hot day with tons of grip, to dial in how much traction assistance he wants while he's out on track. One of the other things we did too was we basically pirated the hill descent control button on the center console. That's actually now the arming for the nitrous system, which is all controlled through the Haltech. And it is a dry nitrous setup, I wanted to mention, and because we're running a standalone, we run larger than stock injectors, and all the fueling demands are actually handled through the ECU to add fuel through the larger injectors when the nitrous is actually being applied, rather than using like a wet nitrous setup. So you get better fuel distribution to every cylinder, and it makes it a more safe and accurate way of running nitrous on a vehicle than a traditional wet nitrous setup. VDC off button that's right next to the hill descent control button, that's a push button, that's not an on or off switch. That one's used for the purge of the nitrous. So we try to like make as many of the factory controls still serve a purpose, because this was a Pro 4X, which was a electronic diff lock, hill descent control, off-road weapon, and it's now become a Pro 2X track weapon. So I think that about covers all of the aspects of what we've done to this Xterra to turn it from a stock Pro 4X into the Crazy X that you see today. We're really proud of this build. I think it's something very unique. I think the customer is going to absolutely love it. Well, actually, I already know the customer is going to love it because he's seen it. We're here delivering it to him, and he's got a face full of smiles every time he sees this thing, sits in it, and drives it. So it's awesome, and I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a bit more about LOJ Conversions and what we offer and what we can do. You can find us at lojkits.com. You can find many of the products for the engine swaps for these platforms on our website. You can find our suspension kits as well. And if you're interested in some kind of crazy off-the-wall build, no matter what kind of vehicle it is, what kind of engine you want to do, feel free to reach out. We love building crazy, unique things. And thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and please like it and share with your friends. It helps the algorithm and helps our channel grow, and we'll be bringing you more content like this in the future.